Join me as we learn together Chitas for the seventh day of Parshas Chayei Sara, Shabbos Parshas Chayei Sara. May it be for a speedy recovery of Avram ben Gilka. Yesterday we learned how Avram passed away. Yitzchak and Yishmael buried him. Now that we mentioned Yishmael and we saw that Yishmael repented at the end of the life of Avram, the Torah tells us about the lineage and the line of Yishmael. Verse 12, chapter 25. The Eila told us Yishmael, these are the children of Yishmael ben Avram, the son of Avram, Asher Yolda Hagar Hamitzris, whom she was given birth to, who was born to Hagar, the Egyptian, Shifcha Sara, the maidservant of Sarah Avram, to Avraham. Verse 13, Ve'ela Shmeis b'nei Yishmael, these are the names of the children of Yishmael, b'shmeisam, with their names, l'teldaisam, in the order that they were born. K'becher Yishmael, the firstborn of Yishmael was Nevayis, Vekedev, Radabel, and Mifsam. Verse 13, b'shmeisam l'teldaisam, Seder lidasam zechar zeh, the order of their birth, one after the other. Verse 14, Mishma Duman Masa, were Mishma Duman Masa. Verse 15, Chadad v'tema Yetur Nafish v'kedma, Chadad, Tema, Yetur, Nafish, and Kedma. Verse 16, Elohim b'nei Yishmael, these are the names of Yishmael's sons. Ve'ela shmeisam b'chetzreim, these are the names that were given to them in their open towns, u'b'tiroisam, and in their strongholds. Shneim Aser Nesiim, they were 12 chieftains, Nesiim, Lumoisam, 2 for their nations. Rashi, what does it mean b'chatzreim? Rashi says as follows: Krochim, open cities she'en lam chayma, but that don't have a wall. V'targumay bifatzchein, cities she'en mefutzachim, that there's open. Lashim psicha kemoi pitzchu v'ranenu, break up and praise, open up and praise. Verse 17: Ve'ela shnei Chayei Yishmael, this is the life of the years of Yishmael. Me'ashan u'shleishim shana, 100 years and 30 years. V'sheva shanim, which is a total of 137 years. Vayigva, and he gathered to his people. Vayamas, and Vayigva, and he breathed his last. Vayamas, and he died. Vayasef elamav, and gathered to his people. Verse 17, what is it telling us about the years? Why does it tell us about the years of Yishmael? So Rashi tells us, brings a Talmud. Rab Chiya bar Abba. Rab Chiya bar Abba says, Lama nimnu shneis of Yishmael. Why were the years of Yishmael counted? In order to make them important and that we should be able to calculate the years of Shneis of Yaakov, to know the years of Yaakov. Because when we learn about the life of Yishmael, we then can understand Shneis of Yishmael Lamadnu, because from the calculation of the years of Yishmael, we can then learn Sheshimesh Yaakov v'beis Ever Yudalet Shana, that Yaakov learned Torah in the house of Shem and Ever for 14 years. When he left his father, before he came to Lavan, because that's when he went to Haran. Before he went to Haran, because when Yaakov left his father, Meis Yishmael, that's when Yishmael died. Shenemar, as we read in the verse later on in chapter 28, Vayelech Esav el Yishmael, that Esav went to Yishmael. So when we know that Esav went to Yishmael, as it's discussed at the end of the tractate of Megillah, Nikris in the first chapter of Megillah. So what we see over here is that the reason why the Torah tells us the count and the years of Yishmael is so that we should be able to know the years of Yaakov and understand the lifetime of Yaakov and calculate it accordingly. Verse 18, Vayishkenu mechavila, and they dwelled in the area between Chavila at Shur to Shur, Asher al Pnei Mitzrayim, which borders Egypt, Boyacha Ashura, towards Assyria, Al Pnei called Echav Nafal. He dwelt throughout all the area of all his descendants. Rashi, before Vayigva, why does it only say, generally Vayigva is only said by righteous people? Generally the word Vayigva, and his breath is last, was only said by righteous people, and this teaches us that Yishmael repented at the end of his days, and he became a tzaddik. In verse 18, Rashi, Nafal, what does the word Nafal mean? Shachan, he rested. Kemoi, like we find in other places, meaning what does it mean? They fell in the Emek, that's where they lived. Over here he uses a terminology, Nefila, which means fall. But later on, earlier, in verse 16, he says, Al Pnei Kalechav Yishkein, because actually, until Avram died, he uses a terminology, Yishkein. which means a settlement of permanence. However, once Avram dies, he uses a terminology of nafal, which tells us that they were demoted from their greatness and they were no longer a great entity. This concludes the seventh Torah reading of Parshas Chayei Sara.